Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Coin Drop Podcast. This is episode 32. We're just cooking through these, man. It's going quick. I gotta say, I feel like we're running from episode to episode at this point. It's kind of wild.
The weeks are quick for sure.
Yeah, I definitely still look forward to this every week. It's awesome. I love doing this with you. I hope you're doing good. This beginning of December now, freaking 2023 ran the hell by, dude. It's kind of wild.
Definitely. Yeah, I was just a little heads up. We're moving through these really quick. Tiny little sidetrack. I'm looking at this and there's 4 people watching us, and I'm so used to seeing one or none. So whoever's here watching to us, I absolutely thank you for being here. It's fucking awesome. I don't care how many of you there are, even if there's just one. But what I was going to say was I was looking on Twitter, X, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and I'm trying to grow our following on there by being active, so on and so forth. And I found one, and I can't remember what it's called. I think it's like the Gamers Podcast or something. And there it's something like near episode like 200. It's either 200 or 1,000, which I know is a massive leap.
That's
but it's
huge.
Still a large number.
That's a huge difference.
It's still a large number compared to where we're at.
Yeah.
And I was trying to just see, what they've got going for them and seeing to compare us and what I can do to potentially help us grow in some way, shape, or form. And it was informative. And, we'll talk about it later. But it was just cool to be able to have something to compare us to, someone that's not... I can't remember the dude's name, but the dude that used to be from IGN, the bigger podcast. That's my point.
Right. Well, I'm just
like you said, it's just something that's fun to do. It doesn't matter how many people we have.
I'm just blown away that there's people out there willing to give us money to continue to do this. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can get more of them. But Mike commented.
And if you're not, why aren't you?
Mike commented in chat that we've been doing this since February. So dude, we're already coming up on a year.
Strix, I fully agree with you. The game looks fucking awesome, and I can't wait for it. And the best part about it is it's cross-platform, so fuck you, Russ. I could buy it on my PS5 and we could still play it.
Sounds good to me, buddy. I don't have to buy a PS5 then. All right, the game we're talking about in general, for those of you who are joining us on the audio side, thank you for letting us get in your eardrums. That sounded weirdly sexual. I didn't mean it that way. We're talking about Helldivers 2. So there's a ton of already 2024 is looking like another phenomenal year for gaming. And kicking it off literally Q1, we've got a lot of great games coming. A lot of potential stress tests and open betas and alphas and just tons of shit to get into, man. First of all, Helldivers got its actual confirmed release date. I believe it's February 8th, 2024.
I believe, yes, that is correct. Strangely enough, the IGN broke the news on YouTube, and the best part about it was in the trailer that they announced it with, the trailer doesn't say shit about the release date. The trailer actually says 2023, but it's the description box below it that states the release date.
Yeah. I actually went and grabbed the official trailer because I was like, hold on, IGN, what the fuck are you doing here? Somebody slipped that one past their editor.
I might be wrong here, but I'm pretty darn certain that they actually announced the release date a while back. I'm pretty sure I knew it was February, 2 months ago.
I think, I don't remember what the date was on the trailer that I actually pulled from the Helldivers team. But yeah, it's not a new announcement, but it's a new announcement. You know what I mean?
I think it's an official confirmation.
Right.
Yeah, that's the date that we were shooting for, but it's definitely coming that date.
Yeah, it's
coming out now.
Going gold. Dude, I'm so stoked that it's crossplay. You don't even understand. The fact that I don't have to go drop $500 for this game makes me very happy. Because I 100% would have. I didn't want that to be the reason to get a PS5 for me, but I 100% would have.
It was like, I'm totally going to buy one for Final Fantasy, but you know what? Fuck that. Helldivers 2. Absolutely.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I mean, speaking of the actual game itself, I would imagine there's actually probably the majority of people haven't played the first.
Yeah.
And it's a top-down twin-stick shooter. And when I say in the vein of Diablo, I mean in the vein of the viewpoint. The viewpoint is real similar to that. But it's twin-stick shooter. One, moves your character, the other one shoots your gun. And obviously there's abilities and various other things. But it was pretty sweet game. And they actually had a shit ton of DLC for it too that would not obviously, but it would change the gameplay enough to make it interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going third person shooter is a huge departure from their previous game, but I'm for it, man. I love the original. I love the story. I love the banter of the first one. This one looks just as good with all that, and then added the third person perspective. Just I'm for it. I'm 100% for it.
Yep. The thing that really gets me is the trailer that they show, or multiple trailers rather, that they show with the gameplay is it's not just for people working together. It's actually they have mechanics built into it that force you to work together. Then the biggest one that I saw was someone had what looked like a rocket launcher. I mean, effectively it was exactly that. Yeah. But he would shoot the rocket, and then for some reason unexplained, he couldn't reload it himself. So someone had to come up behind him and reload it for him. And respawns are the same way. If you die, you don't just respawn wherever you feel like. Someone's going to throw a beacon down for you. So he could totally fuck you if he wants to. Or, of course, be smart and put it in a good spot.
Or you could fuck him and crush him with your pod.
There you go.
Yeah.
It looks like the best of Starship Troopers to me.
Yeah.
In a really, really good way. And it just looks like one of them really, really fun games.
Speaking of Starship Troopers, though, they did make a game that I hear is really fantastic. The 16-player co-op or something like that. At some point, I do want to get that, and I want to play that because it looks like it'd be just a fun as hell game. But that's another topic for another time. I do want to sidetrack just briefly here before we move on. I want to give Mike a bit of a shout out here. He put together a fantastic short trailer edit for our last episode, which is fucking hilarious. If you guys haven't seen it, it's like a 7-minute video, I think. It was released on Tuesday before our last episode went live. Seriously, it made me laugh so fucking hard. It's so good.
It was
so good.
It was a mixture of all the fuck ups last week. And fuck you, Mike, for only blaming Russ here at the beginning. Mike is the one that fucked up and didn't say shit about Russ as being muted for 13 minutes.
I mean, he had it in the text. He said he paused it and said Russ's fucking audio was busted. And, it was there. And then yours just went fair. It's okay. It's all right.
Yeah. No, it was just the audio part, though, because I watched that video and then I pulled it up on YouTube and then for some reason also pulled it up on Amazon Music. Yeah. He only mentioned me in the audio only, which is fair because the local audio was still recording you.
Yeah. So, in addition to Helldivers 2 getting full release in February, we've got word that Nightingale is going to be doing a stress test early next year as well. And that's one game I was really hoping was going to be at PAX when I was there. Unfortunately, it wasn't, because I don't know how I feel about it. It's a very weird looking survival game. I mean, it looks gorgeous. Like, graphically, it's beautiful, but like the content seems almost Lovecraftian in some parts and partly steampunky in others. It's a very interesting mix, but it's also a game being developed by serious veterans in game design. I mean, you've got not ex-Bungie, sorry, ex-BioWare devs leading. Yeah. And it looks really good, but they are doing a stress test next year. More information on that is supposed to drop in February. They have said that if you took part in the previous stress tests, betas, alphas, whatever they've run in the past, this will be different. So it won't be the same thing. X-But.
The best way I can think of to describe the game is a steampunk Stargate, which is a really interesting sentence.
It is
with a Victorian aesthetic.
I mean, that's part of steampunk, but it's true, really weird. It's really weird, and I'm interested. Definitely interested.
Yeah. Imagine Conan Exiles or any other game with its style, building and survival, etc. But you have this ability to go through a portal, which might go through time, or it might go through essentially realms of existence, and you choose it by choosing, I can't remember what they call it, but essentially like runes, more or less. You choose a different rune pattern, multiple different ones, and it will open up a portal to something totally different. And I don't know how they've done it. I haven't read anything that mentions if it's procedurally generated based on the runes you put in there. I don't know if there's a limited number, like 10 different combinations or whatever, but the idea that you can essentially teleport to a different world and totally change up the way you're playing essentially on the fly is really cool. And everything I've seen on the game looks right up my alley, but I'm kind of more enamored by this style of game than you are.
Yeah. I definitely get bored of them quickly if they don't have a goal for me to reach for. You know what I mean? But I want to touch shortly on what the dev here is talking about in the video. For those who haven't watched this video, it's on YouTube. Just look up Nightingale. It's sort of their latest dev interview. There was a glitch that they found on the last test, and this is wild, dude. There was a glitch that was literally almost like the plague from WoW. If you remember, like that whole thing where like
the WoW plague, yeah,
almost like that, but slightly different. So there was a weird thing with AI, with the aggro system for wolves and boars in the beta, where like a small circle would start of aggro and they would fight each other, and as they fought, that circle, and it wasn't like a physical one, it was just like an AoE kind of invisible wall kind of thing. As they fought, that circle would get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and more wolves and boars would start fighting. And then as soon as the player entered that circle, or that circle overtook the player, the wolves and the boars would just and turn on the player and fucking attack the shit out of you. So you'd have a horde, like a full fucking horde of wolves and boars trying to kill you. And players were like, what the fuck is going on? So apparently that's a thing that happened. And they fixed it, but they mentioned it here. And I just thought that was such a wild fucking bug to happen.
That is an interesting bug. Yeah. It's like a reverse Fortnite. Instead of the circle getting smaller, it's getting bigger, and everything becomes aggro to you. Yeah, it's like a scary game version of the game we all used to play on GTA back in the day, where we would try to get as many stars as possible. Instead of causing it on purpose, it was just like suddenly like, you're the target, fuck you.
Mike says in chat they definitely need to unfix that.
Yeah.
Make it a game
don't
mode.
Don't make it a bug, make it a feature.
Right.
But make it like a random feature, so it doesn't happen all the time, but just out of nowhere, suddenly everything hates you. It wants you to die.
Yeah, so that was kind of wild when I was listening to her talk about that while I was mixing the videos. But so Nightingale's coming. Go ahead.
Random side note. Looking at this little 2D graphic you've got going in the background,
yeah,
it just me, or is Gabe Newell selling video games?
No, this is a wallpaper I pulled off of. Yeah, this is a wallpaper I pulled off of the r/wallpapers Reddit, and it is I believe it's titled the August 2022 Steam sale. So it's literally Gabe Newell. That's Gabe Newell in the Steam store selling you games. So I just figured.
Why can I tell that that's Gabe Newell? That's funny.
it's the glasses and the beard.
In my life.
Yeah. So yeah, the Nightingale coming soon, hopefully sooner than we think, but we will at least get a stress test sometime next year. I plan on signing up for it. I do want to check it out. But that's Nightingales. Beyond that, the Division Heartland has finally gotten a rating, which doesn't mean a whole lot because, as we know, Ubisoft loves to delay games. Heartland, if you followed its development, was supposed to release this year. Obviously did not. Mike did get a chance to play it in the closed beta, and he had some things to say. I'll kind of briefly touch on what he said here. I asked him for 500 words or less, and he definitely went over that. So we're just going to kind of hit the high notes here.
I forgot how to count.
It's okay. You know, he's got so many other responsibilities. I don't blame him for losing track of numbers. So it's a great change of pace. It's a bit
mean, Mason. What do the numbers mean? Sorry, go ahead.
It's a bit slower but consistent, since instead of it being in a city, it's now in the quote-unquote heartland of America, obviously, like, you know, the flatland, where if you walk away, they'll watch you for 7 days. It is set up in it with an overworld / mission planning area, which basically runs a smaller scale DZ kind of entrances into like the Div 1, so you're kind of like in this room, so to speak, I guess. Not room, but like this smaller zone. Anyway, basically it is an extraction shooter, so it's very different from other divisions. Obviously it's got some form of story to it, but there's a stealth mechanic now, which actually allows crouch button. Said it took 3 games and almost 12 years, but they finally added crouch, so that's a thing instead of just cover, right? So like normal division just says cover. Mike really enjoyed the crafting system. From what he saw, it's typical resources and level stacking. stacking crafting system where you can craft common shit tier equipment with just weapon gear parts, blah 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 blah, obviously going all the way up to legendary with more and more excessive parts. Character customization wasn't there from what he saw. It was very basic, but I mean, Division has always been kind of basic with his character creation, so that doesn't surprise me too much, though it does kind of disappoint me. There's also a nighttime mode, so night kills if you don't... Nighttime kills you if you don't prep filters. Sorry, misread that. So like there's a night mode, but if you're not wearing like a mask or whatever because the green flu or whatever the hell it was changed, it'll kill you. So, but I also assume that at night you can probably get better gear. All in all, he said it was a great game filled with good adrenaline, and for a free-to-play extraction shooter, it was pretty good. My biggest concern with it is how are they monetizing, right? Like that's always the question, because nobody releases shit for free. How are they monetizing?
I don't know. I sort of feel like that's not even a question anymore. I mean, how does anyone monetize these days? They either monetize with cosmetics or they monetize with exclusive characters, a la Genshin Impact, Star Rail, which you have to, which usually is done in a way where you can either pay for the currency or you can earn the currency in game. But the thing is honestly, my worry is less about how they're going to monetize it, but is it going to be relevant? I mean, extraction shooters got real popular real fast and then are already dying. And that, when I say got real popular real fast, it's like within the last 2 years, and there's already like, look at Call of Duty's mode. It's literally officially dead at this point.
Good.
That's going to be your most likelihood of popularity is the Call of Duty, because one, it's free, two, it's Call of Duty. And so if even they can't break into it, how is someone like Ubisoft in a game that doesn't typically have this as their focus going to break into it when it's already a dying genre? That's my concern.
Sure.
Really.
I would argue that when a mode goes to Call of Duty, it's gone there to die. Battle Royale modes died with Call of Duty, and extraction shooters have been around since Escape from Tarkov. Let's be real, there hasn't been a lot of good, like VR is still big, right? Fortnite still makes a ton of money.
Oh, yeah.
But like the love for Battle Royale games has definitely tapered off since it came to Call of Duty. I mean, look at PUBG. It's full of bots and tryhards. Like, it's not a fun game anymore.
I mean, I would mostly say it hasn't died off. It's just that they've essentially taken the market. It's Fortnite and Call of Duty. Yeah, those are the only two games that really are important to anybody. I mean, don't get me wrong, you still have got Apex and some various other ones. Sure. I mean, from the quick glance at numbers, Call of Duty's Warzone has anywhere from 1 to 3 million players every day, and Fortnite, with the release of the original map, the OG map, the last couple of weeks or month or whatever, they literally broke their player count.
Yeah, I'm not saying
the highest player count they've ever had.
So I'm not saying it's dead so much as like that's the end of it, right? Like there's not a lot of people that are going to go into making a solely battle royale type of game anymore. I will say extraction shooters have kind of died now. Escape from Tarkov came out something like 10 years ago almost at this point. That was the extraction shooter. That was the go-to. That was gun porn, bro. That was build a badass fucking rifle and then go get shot in the head by a freaking camper and lose it, unfortunately. But like that was the birth of extraction shooters. And I would say they're still really popular because Hunt Showdown is still an incredibly popular extraction shooter. Incredibly popular. So
one I've always
same, dude. I want to play it. Same, but it's one of those games you got to play with a buddy. So I would love to play Hunt Showdown with you at some point. But it's extraction shooter is definitely a niche field, as Mike just said here in the chat. It's definitely niche, but it's no different than a niche for like VR. It's no different than a niche for let's say survival games. It's no different than a niche for any of those other not smaller, but obviously not as big as COD or other shooter style games, right? I think if Ubisoft is doing this properly, right? So not a lot of people play Tarkov anymore because Tarkov is riddled with bots and hackers. As long as Ubisoft stays strict on cracking down on that, on keeping skill-based matchmaking, anything like that separate so that people can enjoy it, dude, I would love to continue to play PUBG. I would, but the game is so trash now because everybody's either hacking or so far above my skill level that it's not even worth trying to play. It just isn't. So it's entirely possible that this is good. Personally, I might be biased. I'm still really looking forward to Marathon from Bungie because I also love that genre. I love that franchise. What's that?
I said he's biased.
I might be. I'll admit I might be, but I also like, dude, Marathon has a special place in my heart. Like that franchise has a special place in my heart because I played Doom, I played Wolfenstein, and then I played Marathon, and like those were like the top shooters for me growing up. So, it's obviously not a remake of Marathon because basically Halo was, but that's a whole different can of fucking worms. But I love extraction shooters. I love that like risk reward system. And from what I saw, what I've seen from the gameplay that's leaked, from what Mike has shared with me privately, it looks like a very fun third-person extraction shooter that feels to me like it's going to fill that niche that I'm missing from having the battle royale funness of PUBG. So like just transplanting that fun. But that's just my personal opinion on it.
Which is totally fair. My personal opinion, in short, is more or less I don't like extraction shooters. Just like I don't like battle royales. They're just not really my thing. And oddly enough, Hunt. Yeah, exactly. Oddly enough, Hunt has always been exciting to me because it's like a horror extraction shooter.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I actually did, to be fair, I did like DMZ, Call of Duty's DMZ last year. The little bit that I played of it, I actually did find it rather interesting. So maybe I'll like the genre if I actually kind of got into it more. I don't know. Maybe it's more of one of those things I got to play with a friend.
It definitely
general mode.
Yeah, battle royales and extraction shooters are definitely better when you play with a friend. 100%. Like I'll play PUBG alone, but it's nowhere near as fun as playing it with a squad and things like that. But supposedly, maybe this means the game is coming early next year. It's up in the air. We don't actually have a physical release date. All we know, it's been rated by the Taiwanese whoever the fuck it was. I don't remember exactly what it said, but it's been rated. Yeah, the ratings board has rated it, so we could potentially see it in 2024. That being said, there's a ton of other games coming in 2024. I mean, Tim, just to name them off the top of your head, I'm sure you've got a couple.
Oh, good God. Like he mentioned earlier, this year has been a phenomenal year for games and making it difficult to choose really any award category. Next year is also looking phenomenal. We've already started with these three. You've got the Helldivers, you've got the Stalker 2, you've got Hellblade 2, you've got Final Fantasy 7, you've got I've got the last part of the name in my head. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. You've got a new Wolverine is supposedly supposed to be coming out. You've got Rise of the Ronin. You've got there's so many. I mean, next year is looking like a phenomenal year. So much so that it's just the beginning of the year that we know about. The first 4 or 5 months that we know about, let alone the end of the year. I mean, you've got your obvious titles, but I mean, I'm this year. When I say this year was one of the best years in games in probably the past 10 to 15, next year is looking like it's going to rival this year, let alone some of the best ever. I mean, they announced recently that they're working on a Dragon Quest 3 2D HD remake in the style that the Star Ocean 2 just recently released in, which was supposedly a phenomenal game, by the way. Like there's so much coming out that I'm so super hopeful that some games that I've been dying for a long time, in like when I say dying for, like Legend of Dragoon style dying,
please
my hope is just a bit bigger than it used to be. I'm man, my excitement for the games industry has just grown in the past several months, maybe the past 6 months or so, that I'm really hopeful for some great things. And pretty much all of the companies are doing something really cool, from Nintendo with their new Switch and it being possible being an NVIDIA DLSS device, to Microsoft, even though I hate their strategy, they're buying all these companies to hopefully allow them to grow and be bigger, to PlayStation continuing to do what they do best, also at the same time going outside of their comfort zone with NCSoft and all these other companies and working in the movies and so on and so forth. Like, really, the future is literally nothing but bright. I'm really excited for what's going to happen.
It's a little bright, a little dim. But we'll get into that in a second. Before we move on to that, I do want to mention 1% in the chat says he's been playing Crisis Core Reunion for prep for Final Fantasy 7. I've been doing that as well, and let me tell you, I'm going to commit a gaming sin here. I never got a chance to play the original Crisis Core. Yeah, I know. Yeah, kill me now. I get it. I tried, dude. But by the time it came out, my PSP was busted. I tried on emulation a million times, but Reunion is so goddamn good. It's unreal. Like, I'm blown away how good the story is. So if you haven't played it,
a new game.
yeah, no, it 100% is. It 100% is a new game. If you haven't played Reunion and you're looking forward to the next Final Fantasy, I'm gonna let you know right now, go play it, because Zach is a major part of the next chapter. From what they've said, he's a major part. So I'm curious to see how that plays out.
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yes.
I don't know how much I want to say.
Rebirth.
Like no, remake.
Oh, okay.
Like Russ said, he's a major character that is different from the OG Final Fantasy. So play Reunion, so you can therefore then play
Rebirth.
That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. All these damn R's.
Too many. All right, well, let's move on to well, you kind of dropped a hint at that. Sony Soft. I actually like that. Sony. I like that. Sony Soft. Sony and NCSoft signed a partnership, so that's pretty cool. And I have some thoughts on this, but I want to hear yours first.
I honestly, I don't know what to make of it. I've looked into it. NCSoft, that they've got quite a bit of history behind them. You know, we've got the Lineage series that they've made. You've got
Guild Wars, Aeon.
There you go. Guild Wars is a big one.
Soul.
That's yes, Blade and Soul is another one. Thank you. They've got quite a history with MMO titles, from your really basic free-to-play titles to your buy-to-play to your even pay-to-play. They've got an extensive history in that genre, or that collection of games, and they've got stuff coming that looks really good. We actually talked about one couple episodes ago.
Throne and Liberty, yeah.
But Sony is signing a deal with them, but everything that I was able to read stated that it was not necessarily for video games. It made it sound like it was to help both companies branch outside of it, which I had stated earlier, as you suggested, or that you brought up, is Sony's trying to break into movies and cell phone and all sorts of other different realms. I mean, they've actually released even some manga and various other things. And I don't see how them signing up some exclusive deal with NCSoft, who also makes video games, is going to help them break outside of that. Other than the potential, which I've been seeing everyone talk on this, and I have no idea the validity. It could just be wild speculation. We know for certain, because there's been leaked footage, that Sony is working on an Horizon MMO of some sort, a Horizon multiplayer game. But most speculation puts it into the realm of an MMO title. And well, they just signed an exclusive deal with NCSoft to work in the future on stuff. So are they the ones working on it, and they just didn't have this deal, this long-term deal, and finally it's made it to a head to where both of them are like, yeah, we like working together. Let's sign some, long-term deal together. Who knows? I mean, for all we know, they'll take over the development of, or not necessarily take over, but help the development of what you mentioned earlier. I think this might have been actually off recording, but the Last of Us 2 factions.
Yeah, that was off recording. It's possible. Yeah. I do want to read this quote right here to lead into kind of my thoughts. So Jim Ryan, president and CEO of SIE, said, partnering with NCSoft advances our strategy to expand beyond consoles and broaden PlayStation's reach to a wider audience. In addition to this, like the CEO of SIE, sorry, no, that was Jim Ryan.
Yes.
There's another quote, but it doesn't say if it's from Jim Ryan. I'm going to read this one as well. Like SIE, NCSoft shares a similar vision in creating high-quality, impactful entertainment experiences for players everywhere, and together we're excited to collaborate to push the boundaries of gaming further. Now, here's my takeaway from this. What has Sony done in the recent years to expand their gaming reach? They've started releasing on PC.
And movies.
But I'm talking specifically video games. They've started releasing to PC. NCSoft has never, and I checked this, I went through every single game that they've published, has never released a game not on PC.
It'd be an interesting thought, considering the fact that I don't remember which studios exactly the name is, but Sony literally bought 2 different studios to work on PC port.
And I'm wondering if that's part of their agreement with NCSoft as well, is to help them port their games to PC to make them better for people like me, as well as to work on stuff like what we're seeing on screen here with Project Triple L, whatever the hell this is called. LLL. Yeah, it looks like Anthem to me, if I'm honest. This Project LLL looks really fucking cool. It's a tactical cover-based fly around shooter that just looks like Halo and Anthem had a baby, and I fucking love it.
It looks fucking sweet, and in my opinion, this just confirms to me the more likelihood of them potentially helping out with factions, because I don't think it's a mystery to anybody, but factions is clearly going through some sort of fucking hell.
Neil Druckmann just recently said he has no comment on the status when asked about it. So yeah,
which could mean anything, but the fact that it was supposed to launch shortly after The Last of Us 2, which was in 2020, and we're now 3 years later, 3.5 years later for that matter. So hopefully, maybe, but. Either way, NCSoft has made really good and very popular titles. Yeah. Honestly, I can't think of anything they've released that was an instant flop. They've released some games that have since died, don't get me wrong.
They've released a couple that I haven't been interested in, but looking back on them now, I think I want to try, like Lineage 2. Finding out that Throne and Liberty takes place in that universe has me a little bit more interested in Lineage. So that's a potential, but honestly, what they've got here with LLL, and I think the other one is Project M, which is one that'll play here in a few minutes because I tied them together. Both of these upcoming games from NCSoft look really cool. The question is, are they going to be just more MMOs, or are these going to be single player story based? Well, I mean, they're not single player. We saw other people in LLL. So are they going to be a multiplayer story driven narrative, or are they going to be another MMO? Which either way, like, again, I said it when we talked about Throne and Liberty, I didn't really care for where Guild of Wars 2 went. It's still a phenomenally successful title. There's tons of people that still play it, but it just wasn't my taste when it went free to play. I preferred the Guild Wars mentality of buy the game, play it for free. That's just... I thought that model worked really well for the first Guild Wars.
To give just a little bit of credit to them, is the game is free to play, but it's pretty much your standard. You get the base package. If you want to play anything past the bare minimum, you got to buy the game.
Yeah.
And I don't mean subscription. I mean buy the package. So it essentially still is buy to play. It's more of like, here's a demo, like kind of like Final Fantasy does it, but then you don't have a subscription service on top of it. Moving back to NCSoft, this other game, whatever the title of it is, I'm blanking on it.
I feel like it was Project M or something like that. I can't remember. It was another placeholder title.
Yeah, it is definitely another placeholder title, and the reason I'm mentioning is you had mentioned you're curious about if they're going to make things outside of a multiplayer title, and this one certainly looks like a single player title in all respects. I don't see any multiplayer aspect of this game in any way, shape, or form. Given all of the button prompts, that is very, very reminiscent of Quantic Dream style games, where there's button prompts that pop up all the time, and it allows for the context sensitive dynamism that would provide, so they can change up gameplay based on how you react, or how well you react, or how fast you react, or whatever it is. Project M, you're correct.
Yeah. I think I saw some other gameplay footage of that one where it did show that it was kind of an extraction shooter. That might be another game I'm conflating it with that had a kind of similar feel. But I think I saw some recent footage of Project M as well that showed it as a very rough early build, like very rough. And there was some sort of like extraction shooter aspects to it with other players. But that footage definitely makes it seem like it's a linear single player, maybe not linear, but like story based single player game. So it's hard to say. Either way, both of them look absolutely gorgeous, and Project Triple L even says in the corner, though it's really small on our screen if you watch the actual trailer, it is in-game footage that you're watching. This is in-engine, in-game running, which is, again, possibly vertical slice, but with Unreal Engine 5, we're getting closer and closer to those vertical slices being more representative of what the final product ends up being.
So it's my duty, right, to mention Digital Foundry every episode, right?
Yep.
I was watching within other episodes this week, which, because it's a new one, a couple of weeks ago they released a video about the health of Unreal Engine 5 in PC games. How well has it managed to implement into PC games. And they just did the same thing via consoles. And obviously Sony makes mostly console games and released, on PC now and again. My point is like, I have no idea if they're even working on Unreal Engine, or are they working on proprietary stuff? That's actually a really good question.
Point. But that's a good point.
Regardless of the fact of if they are or not, is that the games still look fantastic. I mean, I think there's so much that they could do by choosing an engine that allows them to develop faster, but I mean, who cares ultimately if the game's a good one? And it seems like they're almost going for a lot of diversity. They've got these 3 games in the work: Project LLL, Project M, and they've got the Throne and Liberty coming up pretty soon, at the very least, and as well as continued development on their old games. I think Sony's right to sign some sort of Sony is right to sign a deal with them to continue some sort of long-term partnership, whatever that may be.
Yeah. The only issue I have with this, the only issue I have with this is we're continuing to see a topic we've talked about a couple of times, the consolidation of the industry. Yeah. That's the only issue I have here. It's the only issue I have with Sony buying Bungie. It's the only issue I have with Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard, is we're seeing the consolidation of the industry. And that worries me. It just does.
I mean, this one's totally not related, in my opinion, because it's just signing a partnership. That doesn't mean it's an exclusive partnership. It doesn't mean that they can't work with Microsoft as well. And I was going to say something else as well. This isn't any sort of consolidation. This is just a partnership that they're working together on. And
you're not wrong, but it could lead further. You know what I mean? Like, it could lead to a point where NCSoft says, hey, we've been working with you, we like you, we'd like to, or even Sony going, hey, we've been working with you, we'd like to just acquire you. So it doesn't mean that's what's going to happen, but it's another step towards that consolidation of the industry. We do need to press on, though, and get to our final topic. Tim, do you have any more thoughts on what I'm going to officially now call Sony Soft?
Sony Soft. I just looked up the net worth of NCSoft, and apparently it's for $4.4 billion, which is within Sony's realm of possibility, considering what they bought Bungie for. I just don't see it being the case. So maybe. Apparently they're the world's 2,724th most valuable company by market cap. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. So, I mean, who knows? I think it's gonna be a good partnership, and hopefully, worthwhile. I remember what I was going to say. Sony and Microsoft have a deal together, so it doesn't necessarily mean consolidation. So,
sure.
Who knows what comes of this?
Yeah. Well, let's move on to our last topic. Speaking about Microsoft, let's discuss the lies of P.
Please do the picture.
Yes, about the game. Picture. And I'm not talking about the game, gentlemen and ladies, if there are any ladies that also listen to us. We are talking about a term, I believe, Tim, it was one of your friends that came up with. I know it was in an episode. I wasn't. Okay. All right. Lies of P, also referred to the lies of Phil Spencer. We've got some mixed information coming out of Xbox, don't we?
Man,
just a little bit.
That seems to be Microsoft's MO. I mean, do they ever talk in a straight line ever since Phil took over?
No.
I mean, don't get me wrong, he's done a lot of good for Microsoft, but he's also just talked out of his ass half the fucking time, and it really feels like Microsoft fanboys are just like gobbling it up like it's their only way to survive. I don't know. The point in saying this is that a few days ago, 3 or 4 days ago, whatever, the chief financial officer, Tim Stewart, hey, he shares a name with me. Tim Stewart said something that I had shared with the CoinDrop crowd that more or less his words, not 100% verbatim, were that they're trying to expand Game Pass to every screen that exists, which includes your obvious mobile and computer and tablets, and more specifically, things that they would consider as traditionally competition, such as, maybe it's Tom, I don't know who, whatever. And sorry, that was total sidetrack because of the spelling.
It's Tim. Mike is fucking with you because you kept calling Tony Tom. He's messing with you.
Anyways, things that they would traditionally consider competition, such as PlayStation,
Yeah.
such as Nintendo, and as well as anything else they can manage to get their device, their Game Pass on. And well, about 24 hours later,
Yeah.
Phil Spencer was in an interview with I can't remember the guy's name, but some dude for Windows Central or something like that. He's a good name. He's a good name in Jeff Grubb, whatever.
Jez Gordon. Jez
Gordon. That's who it is. I actually follow him on Twitter.
Gotcha.
He seems to be very much an Xbox guy. Anyways, he had an interview with Phil Spencer, and Phil Spencer.
I got the quote here. I can just read the quote for you. So Jez asked him specifically, referring to Tim Stewart's comments that they're trying to expand, right? And Phil responded in a direct quote, "I'll start by saying we have no plans to bring Game Pass to PlayStation or Nintendo. It's not in our plans. But I think you hit on the right point of what it means to own an Xbox. The thing I want to be focused on is how we do continue to innovate for people who've made the commitment to our hardware platform. And how do we continue to make sure that they feel great about their investment in what we've built?" So that's a direct quote from Phil. It sounds like backpedaling. It sounds like Tim Stewart 100%. Said something that he shouldn't have said, and now Phil is stepping in to kind of cover the tracks with some dust. He's as they say in the army, he's popping smoke. He's trying to cover the escape.
I mean, just look at what came out of the Activision Blizzard lawsuit earlier in the year, last year. They literally tried to get Game Pass on PlayStation. Like, it was something they actively tried to do. And so the fact that they would just abandon it, when I've said this before on various episodes, Microsoft is practically throwing it in our face that they're trying to go third party without saying it.
Yeah.
And this is just more in that vein. And like he said, he was backpedaling and trying to save face with the Xbox crowd by saying they're not doing that, even though pretty much all signs point to X.
I mean, I'm trying to wrap my head around their business model at this point. I'm not an intelligent man by any means. I would never claim to be a business manager or even on the level of education that Phil Spencer is. Assuming the man is significantly more intelligent than me in the world of business, and I would hope he is, because if he's on my level, Xbox, y'all in trouble. But at the same time, just trying to understand the idea here, it really seems like the lines on the paper add up to maybe not going third party, but definitely getting out of hardware, definitely pushing to a streaming based version 100%. Of gaming. And I mean, just look at Starfield, dude. It is in the shitter in player counts, other than Game Pass. I mean, you mentioned when we went to E3 and you talked to Sea of Thieves, when you talked to Rare, and you're like, hey, how do you feel about your game selling like shit? They're like, well, it does good on Game Pass. Well, whoop-de-fucking do. Like, does that make you any money? Because I bet it doesn't. Like I said, just last year, Microsoft blamed Sony for Game Pass not being on PlayStation. And I mean, I don't know. I think Phil Spencer is like Hillary Clinton in the sense of who says he says whatever fits the moment. Whoever he's talking to, he's going to change his tone in order to be the good guy. Yeah. And it's so obvious. It's like he expects people to just completely forget everything that's ever been said by himself or someone else at Microsoft and just listen to what he's saying now. And I honestly, I don't take anything he says at face value. Nothing he said, well, not nothing. That's hyperbole. Very little of what he said has been true at face value. I mean, it's been to a degree true here and there, but I think he has Xbox as a corporation. I think he's got their best interest at heart. He doesn't care about his gamers. He doesn't care about his subscribers. What he cares about is making Microsoft money. But he also wants to look like he cares. And is that a good thing? Maybe. Is it a bad thing? Also maybe. We'll see. I mean, there are multiple videos. If you go on YouTube and just Google Phil Spencer lying, The first one that's going to come up is King Thrash's Gaming, 22 minutes of Phil Spencer lying and destroying Xbox. So he has been caught multiple times telling lies, right? That doesn't mean he's always lying.
Never once admitted it.
That doesn't mean he's Peter Molyneux, who will sit there, look you in the face, and tell you Fable isn't on rails when it was clearly on rails for that Kinect game. That was the wildest interview I've ever seen in my fucking life. He's not that bad. He's not a compulsive liar. I don't think that. I do think that his focus is 100% the shareholders first, gamers second, and he sells it to gamers as no, we care, right? Like, it seems like everything he says is tongue in cheek, right? He when they went through with the Activision Blizzard merger, he even said, "Oh, you're welcome. You know, you can keep playing your games, blah 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 blah, but you're always welcome here." Like, that very much feels like. It feels dirty. It feels dirty for me to say it, you know? So it just, I don't want them to stop making hardware, because if they do, there is no direct competition for Sony, and I am not okay with that. I am not okay with that, and nobody should be okay with that.
Agree.
Yeah, and we've said that enough. We've said that enough.
Yeah, as someone specifically who skews towards the PlayStation brand simply because I like what they do, I would hate to see them go anywhere near back to what brought them the arrogance level of PlayStation 3 and launch of PlayStation 3. Yeah. I would hate to see that. And as you said, if they dip out on console or hardware, what's to stop Sony from doing that other than the player base? And we know very well that that's unlikely to happen. You just look at the world today, pretty much people can do whatever they want to if they're popular enough. And Sony's kind of at that level, especially if they're the only potential option out there. I really hope it doesn't happen. I want Microsoft to stay in that game to keep PlayStation in check. And
so I will say there is a thought that I just had that occurred to me, that if they do go to a streaming platform, they aren't necessarily making hardware anymore, but they aren't necessarily giving Sony full reign, because in theory, you could just buy any TV that runs Android or whatever. I would assume they would release their app like they did with the Samsung TVs. So you wouldn't need the hardware to be on Microsoft, which in theory could make it more accessible. But the tie to that, dude, is you got to have pretty decent internet to stream. And we're getting there. We're getting better. I mean, even where I'm at, like, fiber's coming, but the majority of the country does not have high-speed internet the way we do. It just doesn't.
I mean, if you look at what Microsoft says and Netflix and everybody else says, they say you don't need. They say you need minimum of 5 megabits per second.
That's bullshit. Streaming at 1080p, you need so much more. You need at least 100 megs to stream 1080p consistently.
I agree. I've never. I don't even know where to find 5 megabits per second these days, but I would really, really, really like to try it out. Watching a video, a Digital Foundry, of course, I mentioned them again. Watching a Digital Foundry video about how the PlayStation Portal works. You know, best case scenario is to hardwire your PS4 to your, as they say, router. They don't think it's a router because that's not going to be. Is hardwire your PS5 and then it be sitting right next to your router yourself, and then you're going to get the best possible service. So like if I'm next to a 5 megabyte router, is it going to be good according to Sony, because that's what they say? Yeah. But anyways, like you said, you got to have something actually good.
Yeah. So
I don't know. Who knows what'll happen. I want to get just ever so slightly off topic. If you're not following us here, throw us a follow, because we're trying to grow the channel, and the more we have, the better. And follow us on Twitter. Come join our Discord. You know, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. You know, come watch us live on Twitch. We got plenty of conversation going on that I can't keep up with. Check us out on YouTube, Coin Drop VODs, our Patreon over at patreon.com/coindrop vets. We'll be doing an exclusive topic over there tonight. I think we're going to talk Stalker 2, new announcement trailer and some new news on that. So if you want to hear our thoughts on Stalker 2, you're welcome to come over there, as well as see all of our extra content from basically 32 other episodes, as well as some exclusive stuff. There's some videos over there that are exclusive there that are of Assassin's Creed Nexus, about the first hour and a half that I recorded of that game. There's a live react that's exclusive over there for Squadron 42, the Star Citizen video game that got its final feature complete single player, whatever the fuck they're doing with their $1 billion game. Come check us out.
They probably are close to that, aren't they?
Yeah. Jump in Discord and chat with us there and tell us what you think of the show. Tim, any final thoughts before we?
I have yet to have anyone request a free game yet.
Yeah.
So come and take it.
Yeah.
If you want a free game, come and take it.
That reminds me, I don't know why, but I'm going to wrap this up with just that reminds me of the old Progressive TV show with the guy dangling the fish in front of the dude. Or not Progressive TV show, the Progressive commercial, like from way back in the day, where he's like, "Oh, you're gonna get it," and he's like dangling the dollar in front of the guy. Yeah, yeah,
get a dollar.
Yeah.
Get it right here.
That's Tim, but with video games. So
appreciate it, 1%. Thanks for listening.
Yep. All right, that's gonna wrap us up tonight. Thanks so much, guys. We're gonna head over to the Patreon, and we will see you next Saturday.